And the purpose of this guy is actually to replace an analog pitch shifter that is made to replace a regular fixed guitar bridge. Now, the purpose of us replacing it is, since that one is an all analog and has a lot of physical all physical components and mechanical components, and it basically causes a lot of problems, issues. It's expensive to maintain on a normal guitar. So how a regular Floyd Rose tremolo bar that we wanted to replace is, this bridge over here on this instrument is a fixed one. For theirs, this would not be attached to the body of the instrument actually. There would be a gigantic hole routed out under this and through the back of the instrument about maybe that wide. So first issue right there is that since you lose a lot of resonance within the instrument itself, in other words, reducing quality of the sound. The second thing is, by doing so, now when you leave your hand on it a little bit or any small movements, you can actually throw it out of pitch if you're not careful with it. So the purpose of that is, there's a little bar that actually looks just like this attached to the Floyd Rose tremolos, and what you do with them is you can actually dip them down and dip them up to loosen and tighten the strings temporarily to get a cool sound. You know, if any of you ever listen to like classic rock, like Eddie Van Halen made it pretty famous, for example. So to begin with, more of those drawbacks is the nut of the bridge up here, which is where the strings are held by the neck, has to be locked on a Floyd Rose tremolo, because if you shift the pitch and loosen those strings, they have to return to normal. In other words, if you don't have this held down, your whole instrument is out of tune and you're pretty much done playing. So your tuning is locked. You cannot change tunings without removing this and then making more adjustments. Third thing is that while they're in there, depending on the tuning and tension of the strings you have to change the how big and how thick the springs that hold it there are. Now, if you're not very guitar savvy and you want to have your instrument set up for a specific tuning and you take it to a guitar shop with a Floyd Rose on it, you're looking at maybe $100 setup every single time. And you know, with the way the neck moves on a guitar, a piece of wood, depending on the type of wood, you're looking at doing this maybe almost every 2 months, unless you really want an out-of-whack instrument. So that can get very, very expensive to maintain. The last thing is, if you are to change your strings and do even simple things like so, you actually have to clip everything. The process is much longer, much more tedious, and you can mess it up and you might have to go out and get new ones if you don't know what you're doing. So our digital whammy bar, what we wanted to do instead is we are going to have a little PCB chip like this inside this guitar cavity. Now, the way an electric guitar picks up a signal is through these magnets called pickups. They pick up string vibration, they send it to this jack, out to the amplifier, and however you want to play. Now, our digital whammy bar will take this signal and it will shift the pitch according to how, far up and down you move our bar, just like the real thing. Should feel very close. And you don't have to deal with any of the drawbacks, because you could take any regular guitar like this and slap it right on, wire it up, and you're good to go.
So is that the bar?
Yeah. This is actually the bar here. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the electronics don't work, but they did last week. But,
can you explain what's in the electronics?
Yeah. So when we started out, we were just looking to convert the analog signal to a digital one, and we came across this DSP chip that did kind of the processing and the conversions. And so once it goes through there, there's an op amp that amplifies the signal, and we have this 3D printed part which actually attaches to a real whammy bar. And so you would screw that in, so you could use one, and it looks pretty legit. And
you printed that here?
Yes, we actually did print this here.
This is the right one.
Okay.
Yeah, and this potentiometer would get sent to another analog to digital converter. Whoops. And depending on where the position is, it'll send a signal to here, and it'll change the pitch depending on that.
Yeah. Does it work?
No.
It did work.
It worked last week. It's not working this week.
Yeah, unfortunately.
At least today.
And basically, it was this, right? This would do everything.
Yeah, we made our own custom PCB, but
That
there's
didn't
an error
work.
somewhere. We have
Okay.
to go back
All
and
right.
look at it.
Good job. Any questions, anyone?